Great. Good enough. All right. There's about 8 people in the back I paid to laugh, so you better earn your 50 cents. All right. The second Anne Frank. Let me preface by saying, without a hint of reservation, I was the absolute worst man for the job. The kids came from all walks of life. The Enzian Theater Filmmaking Summer Camp Kid Fest is relatively expensive for a 2-week program, but the Mouse had offered a hefty grant that allowed some less fortunate to attend from the Boys and Girls Club and the Big Brother, Big Sister programs. Helping kids shine, as always, the Mouse. After a managerial position at the camp was thrust upon me, in addition to my day-to-day managerial theater duties, I made it crystal clear to any and all that I would have one and only one job. And that, well, I figured I could take a dump in a copier and produce at least a 5-part lecture series that would impart to the campers all they needed to know about the film business at those delicate formative ages between 10 and 13. I wasn't wrong. In order to distance myself further from the proceedings, I decided to take a dictatorial approach to my demeanor. When I lectured, I used a booming voice, doing everything I could to set an imposing tone over the PA, and anything short of banging my shoe on the podium, a la Khrushchev in 1960. When I walked amongst the kids working on a project, I did so with both arms wrapped behind my back, one palm securing the other wrist, not unlike newsreel footage you've probably seen of Hitler inspecting badly shell-shocked veterans somewhere west of Leningrad. This will be ironic in a moment. Some of the kids were annoying, some boring, others just plain fucking strange. As an exercise in the process of adapting an already existing work, the children, after having watched it, were to conceptualize and then draw a movie poster transposing Charlie Chaplin's silent classic, The Gold Rush, to another setting. Most of the ideas were what you'd probably expect. The Avengers Gold Rush, Harry Potter Gold Rush, Disco Gold Rush on a beach, Gold Rush on a plane, Gold Rush on snakes on a plane. You get the idea. However, one team consisting of 2 children who were clearly undiagnosed with, but suffering from, a severe autism spectrum disorder, decided their setting would be Minesweeper Godzilla Gold Rush. Minesweeper Godzilla Gold Rush. I don't know. I was in a worse mood than ever on the second Monday morning of the 2-week camp and wondered, while I sat over my 5th cigarette and first Diet Coke of the morning, how exactly one could break into the international arms trade. When I stepped into the theater to get started, a female counselor was setting out another of the children's camp-long projects on the table. Each child was given a blank book to make from scratch. More than anything, it was busy work to toss the chimps when the adults needed a break. They'd been given markers, stencils, and patterned paper they could use for the project. The books I thumbed through were either plain dull or fucking bizarre. But as I walked past one of the books, caught my eye. It was evenly covered on the front and back with neatly cut pieces of sepia-tinted wallpaper material, and on the front cover, in large block felt-tip pen letters, were the words, "The second Anne Frank." My mouth hung agape. I desperately wanted to look inside, but suddenly felt the pang of guilt, like I discovered a Christmas gift 2 weeks early, and was struggling with the decision. Open it, or don't. Anticipation coursed through my body. I was alone in the theater, silence other than the sound of sudden pounding excitement in my ears. This was obviously just for me. I hesitantly opened the cover and looked at the inscription page. Now, let me relay my observations to you in the exact order they occurred. Holy shit, it's a sequel to The Diary of Anne Frank. Does this kid know the diary doesn't end well for Anne? Holy shit, she drew colored gold and carefully cut out a Star of David and has pasted it on the inside cover. Holy shit, it's written in journal form. It's supposed to be in Anne's own writing. Holy shit, The journal entries are dated on consecutive days, but starting in the year 2018. Holy shit, Nazis savagely murder a boy on the first page. And holy shit, she misspelled Nazis as N-A-T-Z-I-E-S. I drew a few conclusions from these initial frenzied observations, but here are the broad strokes. An 11-year-old girl is in the process of sequelizing the Diary of Anne Frank, but she's writing it as Anne, who is dead, so it's really a prequel. However, it is set in 2018, 6 years in the future. So it is a Nazi Holocaust sequel, prequel, time travel story. I paused and thought, that's never been done before. She's invented a new genre. It occurred to me in those first frenzied moments that what I held in my hands was the work of either a pure genius or a severely demented retard. Or both. They are not mutually exclusive. Perhaps it was genius, Vonnegut-esque, but even Vonnegut wouldn't have had the balls to sequelize the Diary of Anne Frank. And if he had, he would have at least given it to Kilgore Trout to write and would have changed the names. No. It had fallen to an 11-year-old girl at a summer camp to insert this into my life. I felt the slight guilt of mocking someone behind their back, but I wasn't mocking her. I was in awe of her, and I had to possess this book. There was just one small issue. The children were to be given their books at the end of the camp when they were reviewed and scored. I couldn't let that happen. I had to have it on my bookshelf. I fantasized about having friends over and strategically walking them past my collection and lingering for just a moment or two too long in the hopes that they'd inquire about that strange, slender homemade tome slipped between my store-bought books. Oh, this? This ain't nothing. Graduation was the Sunday after the last day of camp, and I pondered various scenarios that would allow me to walk away from the day with a book in my hands. The first strategy that occurred to me was simple. Just ask the girl if I could have the book. I could tell her I thought it was brilliant and I wanted to share her genius with the world. Being that familiar, however, obviously smacked of something vaguely felonious and perhaps pedophilic. Another of the camp counselors, a female, offered to try to buy the book from the girl's mother for me. It would seem better, less threatening, coming from a woman. I considered trying this myself. I figured half a sheet would do it. And what's $50 compared to possessing the hand-drawn 11-year-old girl equivalent of the Gospel according to Eve, or the remainder of the ancient epic cycle, that volume just between the Iliad and the Odyssey, where the lotus eaters wear gold stars on their lapels, and one of them has come unstuck in time. If the girl kept the book, it would just be another mythical volume filled with magic and wonder lost to the ages. How would history judge me if I let it slip through my fingers? With a swift kick to the balls, I imagine. Finally, the day came, graduation. We premiered the movies the kids made. They were, of course, pure shit. The rich girls, the blonde mafia, came in newly minted gowns, walked the red carpet, and kept their sunglasses on indoors, a carefully crafted impression of a movie star, desperate both to be seen and to not. The scholarship kids wore the same t-shirts and tennis shoes they'd worn every other day at the camp. I guarantee they had a far better time. I made a short speech. Your children were wonderful, we had a great time, this experience changed all of us, etc., ad nauseum, blah, blah, blah. And then, when everything was winding down, the moment of truth came, and I met the girl's mother, Anne's mother. She took my hand and said her daughter had always come home talking about how much she'd learned and how much fun she'd had. As we talked, I felt the presence of the female counselor over my shoulder, waiting to be given the high sign and to start the negotiations. She was totally on board, understood the gravity of the situation, and was willing to sacrifice to make it happen. But as the conversation with the mother came to a close, I turned, looked at the counselor, and gave her the abbreviated head shake. She lowered her eyes to the ground and sulked away, and as the theater cleared out, and I found myself alone, I felt a tremendous sense of loss, and also, suddenly, regret. Something occurred to me that hadn't before. Theft. I was already the worst man for the job. I should have just stolen the fucking thing, told them it had been misplaced, and walked away smiling knowingly, the second-hand franc in my hand. Thank you.